Okay, so the next thing we're going to touch on is we're going to go through a few upgrades and improvements that they have done with some of the editors. The two editors that they've made some improvements on with version 32 are the function block editor and the structured text editor. So what we are going to do today is we are going to add a new program here. Add a new routine, I'm sorry, not a new program. And this is going to be, we're going to do a math function, and we're going to do that function inside a function block diagram, just because I like to see what I'm doing when I'm doing my math. Okay, so we now open up our math, and it will bring you to this page. So if you're offline, you can immediately start adding objects, but since we're online, we're going to start a pending edit. And now, what I want to highlight is they have come out with new functions. So they are very similar as far as the actual function of the function, right? It's complicated when I say it that way, but they made new things. They call it an add function. So you can tell it's a function and not a block by the small little f that shows up next to them. So in our favorites, it shows all new functions here. But what I want to highlight is I'm going to make a new add function. When I drag and drop it, I now have that. So the comparison to the old one would be, so here is your add, and then you have your add function block. So a function and a function block are different. Even though you're in the function block editor, you drag and drop and make an add function block, it also creates this tag. So if I go to my program tags, I now see that I only have one tag, and it's add01. So the original function blocks required a tag associated with that type of function block. The new functions within the function block editor do not require that. Because they don't require that, they have increased the performance of the function itself, and they have reduced the controller utilization because it no longer needs that extra overhead tag taking up space and memory within the controller. The other thing you can notice very quickly is the size of the function block is significantly smaller. And this one is a small one in general, but there are other ones that have more and bigger functions that would take up even more room. And when dealing with a function block editor, the screen that you have is all you get for this individual function. You can change your screen size, but then you have to start scrolling around and different things like that in order to see it, both panning right and up and down. So the ability to shrink those, give you that smaller footprint is wonderful when it comes to actually having to program. So what we're going to do today also is show that they've made some improvements as far as the ability to, so this is going to be input_1. This is going to be input_2. So I'm going to quickly, so I can right click on it, create new input, and it's going to be a double integer, and I'm leaving in a controller scope tag, create. And then the shortcut obviously is Control W. Click create. But if you're ever used to the old function block editor, if you drag and drop and connect your wires and you end up crisscrossing, it would just draw two lines and you couldn't tell which actual input went to which side of the function. The new function block editor has the wire jumps. So after you move this around, it will keep this wire jump so that you can more easily identify where the actual wires are going. It is something that people have been asking for a very long time, and it is now finally capable of doing it. It is wonderful, and if you ever dealt with it before, you're gonna just absolutely love the ability to do this now. So I'm gonna just have my two inputs, and they're gonna just simply add and feed my output. So I don't want to use the old one anymore. I'm going to go ahead and delete it, in which you see I no longer have program tags. And then we're going to compile and run this guy. I'm going to click yes. So another highlight that has come out with version 32 is they have drastically improved the quick watch function. So within the editor now, you can come down and click quick watch, but it will automatically add and filter all currently open routines. So even though I have several different things open, I just have 2 routines, and I can select a routine. It will properly identify the routine. So they came out with this in version 31, but it did not work properly, and they have fixed it for version 32, where it will filter, highlight the proper routine, and give you just the tags within that routine. So now I can come in and I can make input 1, 1, but for some reason, output 2 didn't work. I don't understand why. And that's because we have not called it. So even though we added the routine within the program, only the main routine, because it's signified with the number 1, gets executed every time. Every other routine must be called. So we're gonna add a rung. We're gonna do a jump to subroutine, so JSR, enter. And our routine we're gonna jump to is math. So now it's gonna be called. And I don't know if you ever noticed, but these parameters always show up when you add a jump to subroutine. So it allows you to pass parameters in and return parameters from a subroutine. You can right click on each one and click remove, but there's a shortcut. If you double click on it, leave the question mark and click off to the left, it will automatically get rid of that for you also. So I just wanted to show you that quick shortcut here. So once we added the jump to subroutine, we compile it. I now go back to my function block diagram. I'm going to go to my quick watch, and as you can see, now my output is active and we are working. So that quick watch is a newer feature. The other thing you can do now with the quick watch that's similar to what you can do in the past is you can call it a name and save this. So if you wanted to add your own tags individually, you can still save it. But if you want to get rid of it, you can quickly delete it. With the new features, you can always leave the quick watch. It doesn't go away, and you don't have to drag drop every time. You can come to the routines and actually populate quickly using those. So the next editor that has had some really great improvements is the structured text editor. So we are going to add a new routine. This time it's going to be structured text. And this one is actually going to be a tank control system that we're going to build here. Okay, so let's not forget, we got to go back in and we're going to copy and paste my jump to subroutine. So I didn't want to deal with having the parameters, so I just copied and pasted. It's a little bit quicker to do as opposed to typing in a new jump to subroutine. I'm going to call my new routine that I just created, tank. And then let's go ahead and open tank. So there are a few features that are new to version 32. The first thing is they have now added numerical line numbers for every single input, but it will track with the code. So you'll see that here in a second as I start developing a little bit more code. But the other thing I really want to highlight is you have the ability to come up to here and you can see this toggle inline view or value display. So we're going to turn that on. I would always recommend adding that. What this does is it now allows you to see the values of the tags as you are building your code and it is executing. You never could do this previously, and it is an excellent improvement because now you can help diagnose and troubleshoot what is happening because the tags actually show you real values. With the new structured text editor, they have also added what they call code snippets. So there are a few statements. Sorry, we need to edit our new one since we're online, right? So there are a few statements in which they have code snippets. There's an if, a case, a do for, do while, and a repeat statement. Today we're going to work with a case statement. So a case statement works on a numerical value to differentiate between states. So if you hover over it, or you finish the word, you know, the very first word, and you can see you have a note, tab after inserting the snippet shortcut. So if you press the tab button, it now includes all the expressions needed to fulfill this function. So the very first thing is it needs to be a tag or an expression that evaluates to a number. So my first tag is going to be tank state. So today we're just going to do a two-state indicator, so to speak. Normally, if you're using a case statement or you're moving into structured text language, it is not going to, because it's only two-state. You're going to have many states that you want to be able to quickly toggle through. So today for my selector is tag state or tank state. So if tank state, even though it says of, but if tank state is equal to 0, then this will be executed. And I'm going to say my tank level is going to be, so it's a semicolon equal. So tank level is equal to some expression that you can now put in there. And I'm going to say tank level minus 1. You have to end with a semicolon. So tank state 0 means that I am draining the tank. I'm going to hit return, and you can also see that you now indent automatically. You can comment, and you can also increase and decrease your indent. But I'm just going to hit the delete, and it knows to jump back because you have a new selector at this point. So my tank state of 1 is going to be tank underscore level. And at this point, my new expression, keep hitting the, forget to hit the shift there, is going to be equal to tank underscore level. And I'm going to add 1. So state 0, I am draining the tank. State 1, I am going to be adding to the tank. You can see that it does not like certain things. So red squigglies mean that you have an undefined tag. And if you hover over, there are green squigglies on the other sections of it. The green squigglies means that it does not understand or compute that function yet. So let's go ahead, and we are going to create the new tag, and we're just going to make a double integer under controller scope of the state. Now, this is where that toggle value comes into play. So now you can see the active value of that tank state. The next thing we need to do is we're going to create tank level, which is also going to be a double integer. And now you can see that. Once I do that, everything seems to be okay, except for I still have a small squiggly here. And I have an else statement. So if you had a case with else, you need this. But I don't have any else. I can just quickly delete that. And then now I have my regular case statement. What I'm going to do, so instead of developing a little bit more code in front of you, I just want to show that I have Notepad++ open on my computer. And I have created a little bit extra snippet. So what I also wanted to do is, so if I am draining and my number, so since I don't have a real value or anything else coming in, I want to say if my tank level is less than or equal to 0, then I want tank level to just remain 0 so that I don't keep subtracting, but I can add later on. And you can just copy and paste. So you can come from any editor, Notepad, Notepad++, or anything else. It shows I have an error. Looks like exists a conflict between this and internal error. So where is my error? I got this 0 here. So you need to put a space, in which I deleted that on accident, but you need to put a space and you need to carry that through. Now that I did that, I have no more squigglies. So let's go ahead and compile, say yes. Downloading, and I'm in. So the other thing you can do from the editor, since you have this variable, is you can select the variable and you can change it within this. So you don't necessarily need to use the quick watch function. And as you can see, it's increasing, and it's increasing just simply based on the task time. So I had 250 milliseconds. So every quarter second, I'm going to add 1. So we're just counting up, and I've talked for about 7 seconds, which I think is plenty. We're going to hit enter, and we're going to go ahead and bring that value back down. So just highlighting, you now have the ability to see the tag types. It also keeps track of, so if there's logic, if there's a space here, right, due to a value or something, it keeps track, and just anywhere that there is logic, it will add these numbers so that you can easily identify them. Previously, if you had a long script, right? So this is a very short one. It's not as needed, but many times when you get into a structured text editor, you can then also highlight very quickly and scroll down and find the exact run you're looking for. And it will also identify that in your error check when you're doing your errors. It'll let you know where it is. So it'll tell you the number, and it also typically will highlight it with your under squiggly underneath the tag name or underneath the expression to let you know that something is wrong. All these improvements have all come out with version 32, and they have made function block editors and structured text editors much, much better than what they have been in the past.